I'd have felt to see this little bedtime tale was funny. I could try to think of all the irony I've missed. What an unusual twist. Right at the end of it, funny. Who could see that this pathetic scene would be so funny? Once you trying to find a grain of humor underneath. Life double crosses with style, forcing you into a smile, so it can kick you in the teeth. Just desserts. We can all laugh till it hurts. At my expense, I'm accustomed to working on spec. I always pick up the check. I think it's funny. Who could top or make this comic opera more compelling? You could weave in some deceit to even up the score. You'd have us all on the floor. That would be roaringly funny. Sad enough, my love, the joke that suffers in the telling. Just another hoary chestnut from the bottom drawer. I've heard so often before that I can't laugh anymore.
World News. Belgium's Prime Minister, Sophie Wilmès, has unveiled a plan to reopen the country. Detailed in the plan is the reopening of doors to all the shops beginning May 11th. Healthcare officials in Ecuador have announced that the country's COVID-19 death toll may be as many as 15 times more than originally stated. In Iran, authorities began to ease back into reopening as they loosen restraints on shops and malls. This comes after the plummeting of oil sales in recent weeks. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will be returning to work on Monday, as confirmed by a Downing Street spokeswoman. This comes after an intensive care hospitalization of the coronavirus on April 6th. The World Health Organization has declared that there is no evidence that people who have antibodies after recovering from COVID-19 are protected from a second wave of infections. The organization warns against the issuance of immunity passports or risk-free certificates to those already infected. Across the globe, there are now more than 2.87 million confirmed cases of the coronavirus, with over 200,000 deaths. U.S. News. CDC Director Robert Redfield indicates that the assault of the COVID-19 virus on our nation next winter will actually be even more difficult than the one we just went through. Redfield adamantly states, "We are going to have the flu epidemic and the coronavirus epidemic at the same time." This comes as many health officials begin to speak out on a second wave of outbreaks. At least 17 sailors aboard the USS Kidd, a destroyer operating in the Caribbean, have tested positive for COVID-19. The ship has had to return to port amidst the outbreak. This marks the second deployed U.S. naval vessel that has had to stop operations because of the coronavirus. The states of Georgia, Oklahoma, and Alaska are among the first to begin easing on the lockdown, despite warnings from health officials that it might be too early. Nebraska's Governor Pete Ricketts has announced that the state will test up to 3,000 people daily based on a data collective operating through an online platform. Country music's Hall of Fame singer Harold Reid of the Statler Brothers died Friday at the age of 80 after a long battle with kidney failure. The number of coronavirus cases in the U.S. has surpassed 955,000, with over 53,740 deaths. In Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial is up 1.11%. The S&P 500 index is up 1.39%. The Nasdaq Composite is up 1.65%. The Russell 2000 is up 1.56%. The NYSE Arca Oil Index is down 0.19%. Hello everyone. Thank you all for joining me for another episode of my podcast. There's a few things I want to get into today. As we know, some states have opened. Georgia, South Carolina, Alaska, and Oklahoma. They're slowly reopening and they've opened up some shops. And there's a big concern about the proximity of people involved and their surroundings. They're opening up places like spas and hair salons, and everybody's going back and forth on that. A lot of health officials say it's not a good time to do this. In fact, in some areas the numbers are going up. It's been a while since we started this lockdown and we're all frustrated, and I understand. I mean, it's just we have to stay the course here. We have to protect ourselves, protect our families. It's difficult to talk about sometimes, but there's some good things that are happening. The social distancing does seem to be helping, and in a lot of places the numbers are going down. So some good news I heard today was that they're going to be coming out with some at-home testing kits. We're going to have to mail them off. We have to wait for the results that way, but in the beginning, they're mostly going to go to healthcare workers. But eventually, they should get to us. So there you go, a bit of good news. And I just found out the other day that there's a few pets in New York that have tested positive for COVID-19. And so just stay alert out there. All right. Don't you just hate people out there that are know-it-alls? We have a lot of those. I've been watching a lot on TV, but you know everything. Maybe I'm one of those guys. I don't know. I don't think so. Whenever we worked in jobs I've had, we'd be communicating through walkie-talkies. When you go on these radios, usually it's just short, quick bits of information. Not everybody going berserk and talking or broadcasting a radio show on it as you're communicating to the other person. I remember this one guy, he had a reputation for that. And we're out there in the middle of nowhere in Texas, West Texas, chasing people, and we're trying to get to where he's at, but he's not helping us, and he's going blow by blow, like he's calling a freaking football game or something. I'm just climbing over this fence. Okay, I'm done. And then I'm on the other side. Oh, I just ripped my pants. I just ripped my pants with the barbed wire. I got a big scratch on my leg. It broke the skin. My leg hurts. But oh no, I'll be okay. I'll be all right. I got it. So now I'm walking. Oh, there's this rock here. Ooh. Oh, it's a metamorphic rock. It's got pores on the side of it. And the rest of us are like, hey, will you stop that and give us information on how to get to where you're at? Is there some sort of structure around the area? Anything big, something like a marker that we could get to so we can get to you? Oh, yes, sorry. Oh, but this is such a beautiful rock. It fits snugly in my pocket. It's gorgeous. And that's it, folks. That's all it takes. From that point on, he was known as Metamorphic Rocky. Hey, Rocky, where you at? Oh, I'm fine. I'm over by the main entrance. I'm out here quietly observing 2 fledgling emus next to some cattle. You sure you're not by any rocks? Oh, no, not anymore. The construction guys building that mall next to the supermarket called. They're working on the foundation. They want to know if you found any rocks. They're looking for a specific rock. Possibly sedimentary. Maybe igneous. Maybe metamorphic. You have any input on that? Hold on. I got the asphalt guys on the other line. Let me see what they want. Wait, I got another call coming in. Hey, Rocky. My cousin's wife wants to get some flooring done. She wants to know if marble is the way to go. Heh 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 heh. Very funny, jerk. What can I say? Guys are brutal. I'm sure Rocky's doing great somewhere. Anyway, we have a great show for you today. We have a good friend and a very talented person. So let's get right to it. Yeah. Okay, so we are here with Lakshman Kashyap Manjunath. Tell the listeners who you are and your profession, please.
Yeah, so my name is Lakshman Manjunath. I am an internal medicine physician, and I work in Dallas as a hospitalist, and I am an amateur musician.
Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about your educational background, please.
Yeah, definitely. So almost all my education was in Texas. I went to high school at Allen High School, so up in North Texas, and then right after that, I went to UT Dallas. I had the option of going elsewhere as well, but UT Dallas offered a very attractive scholarship at that time, so I ended up taking it and had a great time at UT Dallas, and it really prepared me for medical school. I had a lot of friends who also wanted to go to medical school. So, and both of my parents are physicians. My father's a physiatrist or a rehab doctor, and my mom is a child psychiatrist. So, I think I didn't know if I wanted to be a doctor, but it's kind of what I knew, and then I slowly started to fall in love with it as I learned more about it. And so, I was fortunate enough to end up getting a seat at UT Southwestern, so I didn't have to travel far for med school. And then there I met my wife, and we both were very interested in internal medicine, so we went and applied all over the country, and I basically just went where she wanted to go, and she found Stanford very appealing, so we both ended up moving out to Palo Alto and finished residency there at Stanford in internal medicine. And yeah, I just finished residency a year ago, and I've been working now for about 6-7 months as a hospitalist here in Dallas, and yeah, that's all the education and that I've had so far.
Okay, perfect. Will you tell the listeners how we know each other, how you and I know each other?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, you and I go way back to I think I actually remember first meeting you in either one of the voice classes with Catherine or one of the music theater classes. I'm not actually sure which one where we met, but, I mean, we instantly hit it off, and we were one of the few bassy baritones in our class. And I think you did, Ruben, you did take the formal voice class with me, right?
Yes, I was taking formal.
Yeah, I think you did, in addition to like the theater courses. So, I mean, we both know each other from, many, many hours of practicing together, being on stage together, all sorts of things musical.
Excellent. We'll come back to music, but let me get... you mentioned a little bit like why you became a doctor, and why did you pick this particular field? You said internal medicine, is that correct?
Yeah, internal medicine. It's one of the most common fields, actually. I ended up becoming choosing the route to go into becoming a physician. I really liked science early on, and one thing led to another, and I ended up falling in love with medical school subjects, things like physiology, biology, chemistry, that kind of thing. I was never very good at reading. Like, English class was like the worst thing ever. And so, yeah, I was just drawn naturally to the sciences, and I'd always wanted to kind of be a leader in a community and help people. And I had easy access to understanding what being a physician was like. I actually didn't want to be a physician early on when I just went to UCD, I started out as an electrical engineering major, but it was just so boring. I couldn't do it, and I also find myself more of a talker. I kind of like talking with people, and so that's why I think being a physician allowed me to kind of use both of those, being kind of that intellectual curiosity and scientific kind of inquiry type of thing, as well as being a people person. So I kind of combined the two, and I thought being a doctor would be a good idea. There's also, many other reasons, but I think those are the main ones, and that's
Okay.
kind of why I ended up.
Okay.
And then you asked about internal medicine, and internal medicine is basically a specialty where physicians treat adults with basically medicines and minimally invasive procedures. So this is not like surgery or psychiatry or anything like that. It's basically what you think of as like a general doctor. And general doctors, they focusing on figuring out what's going on with patients. Why is the patient having a problem? And I really like that investigative puzzle-like approach that internal medicine provides. Someone comes in with the constellation of symptoms, and you have to put your brain together and kind of figure out, almost like a puzzle, why this patient is presenting the way that they are. I thought it was kind of a very interesting field. So I'm actually further subspecializing into cardiology after a few months. I'm going to be going back to training in July, where I will be getting even more knowledge, in particular about how the heart works. So
Okay.
That'll be exciting.
Excellent. How is your life during the current crisis, and how's your family doing?
Yeah, no, this is very, it's very, very different from what I normally experience. Healthcare providers all across the nation, not limited to myself, have had to really change up their routine drastically for the last month or so. For example, elective procedures are basically, they're basically not allowed in almost every hospital now in the nation. So you can imagine the kinds of cases that we see, the kinds of patients that we see are very different. So, normally we see many patients that are somehow related to getting a procedure done. Maybe it's a knee replacement, maybe someone's got to get, some kind of elective procedure done, and the internal medicine physicians are there to kind of help coordinate, help take care of any complications that may arise afterwards, those kinds of things. So those patients, I used to be a lot of what we saw, and now we don't see them at all because, they're just not being done. These cases, people are waiting to get their knees replaced. People are waiting to get their elective surgeries. So now we basically are only seeing patients who are really needing kind of emergency care and coming to the hospital because they're really sick. As with most hospitals in the U.S., we are seeing, many of these coronavirus cases. So that's been a big learning curve for us because, it's not like you learn about COVID-19 specifically in medical school. We learn about all sorts of respiratory viruses, but this one in particular is very unique. So we've all had to deal, as most businesses have had to deal, we've had to deal with a lot of, changing guidelines, changing updates, new information, have to quickly adapt to what the latest, information that's given from, national organizations and all the way down to where we work in Dallas. So it's been, I cannot coast anymore on the knowledge that I gained from residency. In fact, I have to keep learning on a daily basis to see how we can help these patients. A lot of them are really sick.
Have you seen any recoveries where you're at, or have you seen anything that might contribute to the recovery?
Well, I don't have much different than what's already been told, by multiple physicians around the country. These patients typically, like with most respiratory illnesses, people who have more pre-existing health conditions tend to do a lot worse, and those who are elderly tend to do a lot worse. And it all really has to do with the same kind of issue, which is there seems to be, kind of immunity components. So conditions that really reduce the immunity, things like liver disease, diabetes, heart disease, or conditions that make people just more fragile. These are the patients that really tend to not do well. I'm not saying that every single one of them, is going to do poorly. I mean, I have seen patients who I would have predicted for sure they would have had a really rocky course, and they end up doing just fine. So it's a little bit varied. This disease has a lot of what we say. There's a very heterogeneous presentation. I mean, you'll have some patients who are, they're at death's door the second you see them, and other patients where they literally don't even know that they have it. They just happen to come to the hospital for another reason. It just so happens that they also have the COVID virus.
Oh,
and
wow.
You're like, yeah. So that's what also makes this thing a little bit scary. It's not as predictable, and when someone gets the flu, most people, at least with there's some seasonal variation with the flu and other respiratory viruses, but the course, I feel, at least, is it's a little bit more predictable. Whereas here, sometimes you'll have people who are young, they have no health conditions at all. They'll be marathon runners. They'll be as healthy as you could think they could be, and then they get taken down by this virus. So it's a little bit scary in that respect.
Right. Well, we're still learning from it. We have learned quite a bit, but eventually we'll get to the point where we'll be able to handle it better. But right now it's all new to us, so we can only do what we can.
Yeah. It'll take weeks or months and even years for us to be very confident about understanding this illness from a data gathering perspective.
Right. Great. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the music because you mentioned music. You say you're an amateur musician, and what type of genres do you usually work on?
So I'm very much all over the place when it comes to music. I started out singing very classical music, classical Western music, things like opera. I'm a baritone, so I ended up singing a lot of opera arias. And I then went into music theater a little bit. I also learned some jazz singing. I really tried to emulate the voice of Frank Sinatra. After I started getting into those types of genres, opera and jazz, I really started learning piano and keyboard. So then I kind of, basically used YouTube and some online sources and more or less just kind of fudged my way around the keyboard until I got decent at it. And then from there, I really, at some point, I really liked producing music, and I always thought something that I really wanted to learn over my lifetime was how to make a really good polished record. And so that's kind of what I've been mostly focusing on as of recently. But I would say my main strength as a musician is singing and playing piano.
Okay, excellent. All right. So, what's in the future professionally as a doctor and musically? So, what can we expect?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to answer that every day, actually. I don't really know. I kind of take it as it is, as it comes. Sometimes I go through. My main job is being a physician. I would not want to have my main job as being a musician. I don't think, at least. Based on what I've seen, it seems very challenging to be a musician. That where your livelihood depends on the quality of the music you produce, and it's so competitive. I think that keeping it as a hobby is good for me. I think, at least with regards to music, I want to just continue perfecting this kind of craft over my lifetime. I think that's the nice thing about being a hobby. I don't have, there's no pressure necessarily unless what I apply to myself. So it kind of teaches me to be self-motivated, and but it comes with ups and downs. I definitely have periods where not doing much at all. I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Or why am I doing this? Or I haven't made anything in so long. And then other periods I'm really proud of what I do. But I think I would like, keep music as a hobby, and eventually my goal would be to open my own studio one day, and maybe dial down a little bit of the medicine, and eventually try to do more studio production work with other people, other artists, other singers, other musicians. That would be something I would dream of like many years from now, where I am able to fund the building of my own studio, and really know how to navigate everything around it, so I could kind of seamlessly make records. That would be the goal. That's, I guess, musically, that's my goal. I mean, from as a physician, that's another thing that I'm still trying to figure out what exactly I want to do as a physician. I've been in an academic environment my whole life, so I could see myself staying in academics and being a leader in academics within cardiology. Or I could see myself potentially, finding some other niche in the community, industry. So there's a lot of avenues that I could go down in medicine. But I still haven't really figured that one out either.
It's still an ongoing thing, and I go through the same things. But I do want to say, like, for the field in music, I've associated myself with a lot of professional musicians, and I always hear the same thing, that the field, music, you don't choose music. It's who we are. No matter what happens, music is going to be there. You know what I mean? For many of us that are doing music, and I feel that's the same position that you're in. Yes, we do. We a lot of us do other jobs aside from being a musician, and you have a very good and a very important one. So that's excellent, of course. But I think when it comes to music, I mean, it's who you are.
It keeps me sane. I think. Coming at the end of the day, at the end of a hard work day, there's a lot of stress. There can be some critical moments, some emotional moments, and coming home to just play some piano is fantastic.
Amen to that, brother. Okay, well, with that, I'm a big fan of yours. You're a great musician. I know I'm very happy that you became a doctor. It's something that's commendable, and I just thank you for taking the time to do this with me.
Well, thanks so much, Ruben. No problem. It's my pleasure, and best of luck with the podcast. And being out in LA. I hope all of your dreams, passions, they come easily.
If you leave, I won't know what to do. Serve a pillow on the menu, craving you. Be the stars up in your eyes, yeah, that's a move. Girl, I'm feeling I ain't ever quitting. Even with them reps I'm hitting, you're my greatest drink and afternoon. I wanna pour another whiskey, share the view. But I'm sitting on the sidelines praying, keep up with this game you're playing. Lay it up and come back to me, let me give you some more. I've been screaming in your silence, babe. Feels like we be divided, babe. I don't wanna have to leave, yeah. Why you gotta make me bleed, yeah. Funny how the scene changed from black to white. All these angles kinda strange, it don't feel right. Been trying to your silence, feels like we be divided. I don't have to leave. Why you gotta make me leave? Funny how the scene changed from black to white. All these angles kinda strange, it don't feel right. Didn't try to play it cool, I can't no more. I ain't running up the fool, so walk out the door. No, 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 yeah,
The song is called Silence, and it's with Lakshman and Apurva Manjunath as vocalists. This concludes our podcast. Until next time, stay safe out there. Ruben Rosales out.